You have such an incredible story, and I hope you continue to share it.
I feel like I'm struggling a little bit too right now. I feel like as you get older, you start to struggle because everybody is in different phases of their life too. He was like, I don't think that's possible. And so I was like, okay, I said, I just don't want to continue this meeting. Like, I want to do badass things. Just like community. And then I like the fact that everybody was out walking because, like I said, it's a walkable city.
Yeah.
There was a lot of older people, all ages. Oh, my favorite part about New York City is the diversity.
Oh, yeah. I do miss that.
Oh my God, the amount of different languages.
It's crazy, right?
Real.
It's like, first of all, New York is a little too... It would be too much for me to live there. I could never do it. I mean, I grew up in Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
And I had languages around me all the time. And then I studied opera in school. So like languages I'm super sensitive to and I love them. But I just remember in New York, you have that crackle pop and you're like, what language is that?
Yes. I heard so many. I'm like, I've never heard this before. And then I also like the fact that everybody can coexist together. It's not one of those environments where it's so many different people in one area.
Yeah.
You know, it could be a lady with a Birkin bag sitting next to, you know, like, I don't know. It's just like the amount of different people is just, it's different.
It's interesting you mentioned the stereotype of New York because I feel like whatever perspective or opinion you're looking to validate, you can go find evidence for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure. There are not great nice people in New York. There's some pretty bad people there.
Probably.
There's some pretty bad people here in Arizona. But something I've been reflecting on lately is like, who am I surrounding myself with? What energy am I looking to collect in my sphere? And what am I putting out there? And I don't know if you feel this at all, but sometimes just like the negativity of the external world, sometimes it can be hard to shut that out.
For real, it can be. But I feel like for me, I always try to be a little bit more optimistic and not think about certain things.
Yeah.
So I try to like weed out the negativity because it's like, okay, you know, you kind of get to decide what type of life you want to live in a sense of like, okay, do I want to wake up every day and think about, you know, X, Y, Z, or would I rather wake up and think about, you know, these things?
Yeah.
And the stereotype of New York, they're rude. I'm sure there are rude people, but it's like I came across so many friendly people, you know, like it was like the best experience ever. That was my favorite trip.
That's amazing.
That was my favorite trip.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you got to go. And I'm glad to hear that.
We walked like 20,000 miles in one day. Not 20,000 miles. Sorry. We did
steps?
20K steps. Yeah,
Okay.
Miles.
I mean, I just like, that's that ADHD translation. I was like, I got the right metric of whatever she was talking about.
Miles.
20,000 miles. I hope one day Phoenix becomes even more walkable. I know, like, we were just talking about Buckeye, where you're on the west side of town. I currently live on the east side. And I know we've got these little pockets in of course, the downtown areas, obviously. But when it comes to making our city walkable, it is so damn hot.
Yeah.
And I was at, I think, Scottsdale Sky Song recently. This is like it's like an office complex. There's a couple of shops and restaurants, but they did a really great job of creating shade between the buildings. Such intentional architecture. It makes it bearable when it's 100 degrees out to just walk between buildings. And that's my tangent and hope for Arizona. I want to walk more in the summer.
Yeah, it would be nice. It's so hot in the summer, but even in the winter times, I mean, the weather here is so perfect that it would be enjoyable to have a walkable city.
Yeah, keep us all fit.
Yeah, and keep more community. I feel like, you know, when you're living in a city that's not walkable, like community, I feel like, I don't want to say there's no sense of community, but there definitely is, but it takes more effort. You know what I'm saying? You have to be intentional with it.
You are so spot on.
Yeah, whereas with a walkable city, it's like you kind of really have no choice but to, you know, have some type of community.
Know your neighbors.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've been lacking community? How long have you been in Arizona? Let me start there.
Since December of 2019.
Okay, so you've been here a little while, but there's a pandemic in that time.
Yeah, for sure. That threw me for a loop.
Yeah. How long have you been working, not necessarily even in your current company, but since 2019, like how long have you been out in the workforce in Arizona trying to network, build community?
2020, since 2020.
Okay.
So as soon as I moved home, I graduated December 13th of 2019. And then I moved home maybe like a couple days later. And then, of course, it was Christmas time. So I had worked 2 jobs in college, and I went to school for 2 years straight in the summertime. So I was like, okay, I'm taking a couple weeks off. I took a couple weeks
Crazy.
off. Yeah, I took a couple weeks off, which was kind of weird. And then I kind of got back into it. But like I said, the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
It was really hard to find a job at first. But yeah, I started working actually at a restaurant at Mimi's.
Oh,
Did I
cool.
start? Yeah.
We love
In
Mimi's.
January of 2020.
Okay. So like pandemic aside, going back to the sense of community, it's something that I spend a lot of time thinking about because growing up in Baltimore, we knew our local bread makers and butchers and we knew our neighbors. And when we moved to Arizona, both, I suppose, like logistically, most of the houses here, you have fenced blocked yards.
Yeah.
We're in Baltimore, our yards bled into one another.
Yeah.
And there's pros and cons there. But I think since moving here, I still have been searching for that same sense of community. And I'm wondering if you feel that way as well.
I think it's hard for me because growing up in a military family, it's very normal to move around.
That's true.
So it's very normal to get so accustomed to the same people for a short amount of time and to have to pack up and go. So like my perception, I guess, of community is like, what is community? So
yeah.
I guess I could compare it to living on a military base.
Yeah.
Like that's community for the simple fact that, our neighbors, we live close. Our dads do the same thing or our moms do the same thing. We go to the same schools. We have a lot in common. And then growing up in a military background, it's like the dynamic of it, the people around you, that's your family too. It's like weird to describe it in the military world. It's like your family is your family, but also too, your friends become your family.
Yeah.
Their friends become, your family. So I think if I can compare that lifestyle to, my life now moving to Arizona, it's vastly different because I didn't grow up with these people. And then I feel like when you get older, establishing those relationships, everybody's so hesitant nowadays. It's like, can I trust you? Do I really know you as well as I think I know you? Or is this safe? Should I invite you over? Or, there's so many questions. So I do feel like it is. And then if I can compare, let's say like my trip to Jersey, like my friend grew up in Jersey her whole life.
Yeah.
And I never experienced anything like that. And I tell my mom, like, she's so blessed. So if I can compare that community to maybe living here, I guess some things I notice differently is just that level of, people don't really know each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I definitely feel like searching for that type of community, I don't know, it's been different.
Yeah.
I don't really know what I really want to express that. I don't know.
No, I mean, different, I think, is spot on. And I don't have as near the level of experience in military life that you do. I didn't grow up in military. My father was in the Air Force, but that was before I was around. And I have several friends and colleagues that have been in the military. But aside from that, I never had that experience of bouncing around at all. So I'm curious, do you still have close connections with the people that you kind of grew up in on the military circuit, perhaps?
Yeah, I absolutely do. So one of my best friends, she got married this year. She lives in Dallas.
Nice.
I've known her since middle school. We became best friends in high school. I still keep in touch with people from middle school, high school that I met through the military. And then a lot of people, I mean, it's a small world.
Yeah.
So I actually we were stationed in Fort Huachuca when I was in 4th grade. So that's in Sierra Vista in Arizona.
Okay.
And then from there, we moved to Fort Bliss, El Paso, Texas after. And the cool thing about the military is there's friends that I met in El Paso that moved to different duty stations. We all separated and they met. So for instance, my best friend, Mila.
Yeah.
I met her in middle school, high school in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. But prior to living in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, we lived in Fort Bliss, Texas. And I had a best friend. Her name was Pumi. So when we got our duty stations, when my dad got his new duty stations, I was going to Kentucky. It was on the border. Fort Campbell's on the border of Tennessee and Kentucky. So technically, that's one of the largest military bases, if I'm not mistaken. It's airborne, 101st. But anyway, so we lived on the Tennessee side. The military base was split. So we lived on the Tennessee side. And Pumi actually got stationed to, I'm going to say Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. We actually used to live there before Fort Huachuca. But anyway, so she met Mila in Missouri. And then Mila moves from Missouri to Fort Campbell. And that's where I met Mila. And we became close friends. And she knew who Kumi was. And I used to a small world.
We were talking about the concept of it. And I know I've struggled to find perhaps my tribe. Maybe that's the word that I'm looking for.
Yeah. I feel like I'm struggling a little bit too right now. I feel like as you get older, you start to struggle because everybody is in different phases of their life too.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's people, you know, some people could be getting married, some people could be having kids, some people are focusing on, you know, their careers.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, we're living in times that are difficult.
Yeah.
So many people are just focusing on surviving and themselves that sometimes, you know, community, it can seem more like a chore.
Yeah.
I feel like in a sense than anything. And then especially the way our communities are, like you said, we don't live in walkable cities. You know, we live in communities where, you know, you have to drive places. It takes effort to go do certain. So, and then of course, I like back to my point of, I feel like the trustworthiness, like it's hard to trust people nowadays.
Is it hard for you to trust people, or you're just commenting that it seems like people
are more hesitant to trust people. Yeah. I won't say I have a difficult time, you know, trusting people. I think it's pretty easy for me to navigate relationships and kind of be, I guess, a chameleon and kind of adapt to environments.
Yeah.
And understand people. But I do think, you know, like I said, people nowadays stick to what they know, and it's hard for them, you know, to step out of their comfort zone and trust people. So I definitely think the community part I can relate to.
Yeah. I feel like, so military, I kind of compare that to, I suppose, religion. So I'm not a religious person. Okay. I'm not in any type of organized religion. I respect everyone's beliefs, and I consider myself a spiritual person. But I don't necessarily believe you have to be part of a religion to feel like you have a strong community, but it certainly seems to help, as does the military. So whether like some sort of organized something, even some of the networking groups I know we bounce in and out of, it certainly helps to have some sort of organized framework.
Activity. No, I see what you're saying, like run clubs. Like for instance, you know, I was runner in college, and I was runner, you know, since middle school. And so I've joined a run club, and that's a sense of community. But like you said, the bigger communities, you do see a lot of people in, you know, churches and in, you know, those organizations. And it seems to be, you know, a means for people to, you know, connect and meet each other. And definitely same with the military. I feel like as you get older, I don't know what would be another group.
Pickleball.
Oh, definitely. Oh my gosh. Yes. Pickleball is like.
Have you played?
Okay.
I don't want to pop an Achilles.
I hate to even say this, but yeah, my ex loved pickleball. So that's the reason I about pickleball. Okay. Obsessed.
You're obsessed, or he was?
He was obsessed. Okay. So that's how I kind of was like, you know, sometimes when a person was obsessed, you kind of got to be a little, interested. So
like, am I a Cowboys fan? Love you, babe.
That would be one. I'd be like, no, I can't hop on that bandwagon. You're on your own.
Fair enough. Pickleball. Okay. Cowboys. Absolutely not.
No. But yeah, so definitely, okay, yeah, pickleball. They're actually trying to bring pickleball to the West Valley. No. I was at a networking event the other day, and there's a gentleman, and they're bringing pickleball to the West Valley. So that'll be cool.
That will be cool. Also, I guess like my mind is already thinking ahead to, we've seen all these pickleball pop-up places, and I'm like, it's only going to be a fad for so long. I'm already curious, like, what's the thing after that?
I'm not really educated too much on pickleball, but I did hear pickleball has been in Arizona for quite some time, and it's kind of like a hub. I don't know. Don't quote me on this. You know, I'd have to pull out my phone and do research. Yeah. But pickleball, because like I said, my ex was into pickleball. Yeah. He actually had a friend that worked for Border Patrol out here many years ago in Scottsdale area. And he was talking about their pickleball facilities out here and how, you know, they're some of the best. And I'm like, okay, so I think it's been here for quite some time. So I don't know.
I heard that pickleball players and tennis players, they can have like real beef together.
Interesting.
I think the pickleball players are trying to take over like the tennis courts or something. So that drama I found interesting.
Okay. I haven't come across that, but they definitely do share. So that's interesting. I would definitely want to know. They also have tennis clubs out here too. I think I might join one.
Really?
Yeah. They have tennis clubs now.
So this is a perfect transition. So I know you were a sport athlete in school, right? Okay. I'm always fascinated by things that I can't relate to. Like, I went to school and got my degrees later in life. So didn't do that classic route, didn't do military. And also, like, I ran and did have marathons and stuff, but
that's cool.
Yeah, and also, like, if you try to get me to run now, there better be something chasing me, and it better be
Okay, that's
big.
fair. That's
Yeah.
fair.
So anyway, all of that to say, like, I'm so fascinated by your experience as a sport athlete and like balancing everything because you strike me as someone. I know we're just getting to know each other, but like first impressions, you just strike me as someone who has their shit together.
That's nice. That's nice.
You already said chameleon, so I'm going to borrow that back. Like, you are someone I see who can walk into any room and build relationships. Clearly, all of this, I'm sure, makes you great at your job.
Yeah.
But with the sports and the physicality and the running, I'm just wondering, like, what that was like in school, staying fit, being a runner. Yeah, what was that? How'd you even get into fitness?
Okay, so that was so sweet of you to say, first of all. It's always interesting to hear other people's perspective, like on you, like how people look at you. So that's always interesting.
Oh,
Okay, I got into sports my seventh grade year. We were
mm,
stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. My dad was actually deployed. I do not remember where my dad was deployed to at the time. I don't know if he was deployed to Iraq or if he was deployed, if he was on a job in Korea.
mm,
When he went to Korea for a year, we didn't go with him, so we stayed in Fort Campbell. So I don't remember if he was in Iraq at the time or if he was in Korea. I was in seventh grade. I was struggling a lot. Me and my mom did not, get along at the time. I'm a mama's girl through and through. My mom had me at 15. There was one of
wow.
those issues where I was just struggling. I grew up in Illinois till I was 7.
Mm,
My mom had 15, so I was used to being around all my family. And then I was, like I said, seventh grade, you're reaching your teenage years. So I
yeah.
was just struggling a lot, like, constantly arguing with my mom. I just was going through it. My dad wasn't home.
Mm.
My mom had little kids. So, I would help her, whatever she needed help with.
Wait, let's pause right there. So, mom had you when she was 15,
Mhm.
and then you have siblings, it sounds like?
Yeah, I have siblings. So my parents got married when I think my mom was 20. So my parents met when I was 5. They got married when I was 7. They've been together 23 years. They just
Wow,
had,
mom and
yes, they got married
dad.
21 years as of August 14th. But yeah, so in seventh grade, it was me. Can't remember how old I was at the time. And then my mom had my little brother and my little sister.
Wow.
And I want to say my little brother was a baby at the time. He was still a baby. They were still toddlers
Wow.
for sure. So
Okay.
yeah. So mom had me at 15, and then I don't remember at what age she had my brother and sister. So I have a little brother and
Yeah.
little sister.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your family sounds like super tight knit. Is
Yeah,
that
we
right?
are. We are. Yeah. So when my parents got together, my mom had me, and then my dad had his daughter. So
Mm,
we're a year apart. Our
okay.
birthdays are both in February, and then my little brother and little sister. And I have more
Mm.
siblings. I'm like one of 10 on my dad's side. That's a whole
Whoa.
other story. We would need a different podcast for that.
Have like this core family unit, going to
Mhm.
school, you're struggling with your mom, and your dad was overseas.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just being transparent. Like at the
Yeah.
time I was young, I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Anybody who has teenage kids knows that once you get to that point,
I was a nightmare.
it's a lot of emotions that you go through. So whatever. I just wasn't being the best adolescent at the time. I wasn't in trouble I never got in trouble when it came to like horrible things. It was
Yeah.
just that, I was just struggling internally. So anyways, my mom's like, you got to get out of my house and go do something.
Yeah.
So I chose track and field
Nice.
as the sport that I wanted to do, and volleyball. I played volleyball in high school. So that's how I got into track and field,
Mm,
was seventh grade. I was in middle school, but at Fort Campbell, the middle schoolers ran with the high schoolers.
mm.
So that was a little bit different. And then at that time, they had a great team. So I had a lot of peers to look up to. And that's kind of how I got into running.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you feel like today, I mean, I don't have kids. I don't think you have
I don't
kids.
have
Okay.
kids. So.
But I get the perception that being a parent in general, one of the toughest jobs in the world,
Yes,
in today's day and age seems super tough.
absolutely.
And I feel like in general, running and physical activity, we know it's so good for our brains and our emotions and our body, but it still doesn't seem to be encouraged as much as I think it should. Do you get that sense? It might just be my own.
Um, I feel like physical. I feel like it is. Maybe it just depends on like what um like groups, like what you're involved in.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I feel like for the most part, none of my other siblings played sports.
Oh, interesting.
My parents, I don't believe, played sports. I think my mom was a cheerleader at one point, but they didn't play sports. My kids will definitely play sports. Okay.
You're like, just so you know, get out of
They
my
don't
house.
have a choice. Yeah, that would be a choice in my house. But so I guess it depends on what community you're in. Because I also coach track and field at a high school, Canyon View High School, assistant coach. I haven't been able to coach these past 2 years because I've been busy.
Yeah.
But I started with them in 2020, and that was a big part of my life. So I guess it just depends on, how your family operates. Because a lot of those, like coaches I coach with and people I know in, that area of expertise, like their kids have played sports since they were, little kids, and they played sports since they were little kids. So I just think it depends on like what environment, you were raised in or your family dynamic. But I do think physical activity is being pushed more. Yeah. And there's a lot more run clubs too.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
It's so, and I suppose I belabor the conversation because it's something I wish that I would have been really into growing up. Might be the ADHD, but I bounced between did a little soccer here, did a little gymnastics. Nothing ever stuck. Gotcha. And I didn't grow up around like a sports family or community. Music was always our kind of thing, which is not bad. And there's an argument there.
I used to play the clarinet.
Really?
Yeah.
You keep your wind instruments, ma'am. The freaking what the wooden thingy? Whatchamacallit?
Oh, a reed?
No, absolutely not. Slobber monster. Like
really?
what? Oh my gosh, I was a nightmare.
Okay.
I know I present as a super pristine person now, but like, oh my god, in school, I can never do the wind instruments.
What about it? We're jumping from topic to topic, but what about it?
We're thriving.
Oh, we're thriving.
This is my brain, and you're welcome.
Mine too, so I have no issue.
I think part of it's ADHD for sure, but also I just couldn't get it to click. Like I tried clarinet, tried saxophone, anything.
Did you ever try the flute?
Yeah. And this is going to sound ridiculous, but I can't word it any better. Anything you could blow into, like I tried that instrument, could never get it to click. I was pretty mediocre at guitar, piano, viola.
I would have loved to play the piano and the violin.
Yeah.
I started playing the clarinet, I want to say my 7th grade year in middle school. And the reason why I started, one of my favorite movies growing up was Drumline. And I really wanted to play the drums. But my mom was like, Taki, it's not like Drumline. And then
it could be, Mom.
Yeah. And then I got in the music class and I'm like looking at the drums like, okay, this is definitely, it's clearly not drummed up. But well, it's the same thing. Like, these are drums. And I'm like, I got stuck with this clarinet. So I'm over here. I feel like I don't want to say a loser for playing a clarinet. Anybody who plays an instrument, like, that's
badass.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, point blank period. But what I'm getting to is I wanted to be a part of the real cool crew. And I thought that was the drums in my eyes.
Yeah. You wanted to be in Nick Cannon's little drum line.
On what?
Do you know how many times I've watched that movie, like on TNT on rerun?
To know how many times I watched that.
I took drum lessons. It was probably that movie's fault. That
Still have drums. I didn't want to play drums. So that's how I got into playing the clarinet. I had to choose. I put drums. I think it was like my second choice because my mom was like, maybe choose something else because it's not like drum lines. So I got stuck with the clarinet.
You have a smart mom.
I was first chair.
Of course you were.
I used to bounce back and forth. I was first chair, and then I would bounce back and forth between. There's this other girl. Her name is Belinda. She was her dad was one of my, I think, dad's soldiers, or they were close together. So my dad would always be like, hey, look, can't be second chair. And so it'd be like a running joke between us. And like sometimes if it was a day I just didn't really care, I'd be like, come on, you guys. Yeah. Like if we had to test against each other, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll get you next week. Like it is. I'll get you next week.
Do you, so I imagine you just strike me as someone that's a high performer. It sounds like your parents also are high performers, especially having a mama who had you at 15. I'm adopted. My birth mother was 17 when she got pregnant, so I don't know her, but
okay.
Like, I can only imagine what it would have been like to raise this hellion at 17. So, shout out to your mom for being a badass so young. But I'm curious, like, did you feel pressure from your parents to be a high performer, whether it was clarinet, running, school, or did you put pressure on yourself?
I think I put pressure on myself. I don't think I ever felt the pressure of being a high performer until later in life from my parents. And that just comes from, I feel like my dad is a hard worker, almost like a workaholic. So I think later on in life, and I can get into that later, but not from a young age. So I started running in 7th grade because my mom was like, hey, you need to find, a sports play. And I just chose that sport. What made me want to be a high performer is that I'm very competitive. Yeah. So like, I love group workouts and I'm just naturally competitive. It's not that I'm trying to outdo you. I never want anybody to feel like, oh my God, she's trying to like outdo me. It's just something that it's just an instinct of mine. So when I started running, I had so many peers that that were so good. I looked up to them. They were like kind of like my role models. And so once I saw that they took it seriously and how good they were, every day I kept telling myself, like, okay, hey, I need to show up and I need to make sure that I do, from the moment we get to practice. And it was very structured. For example, my coach at the time, we were very structured. So when you do your dynamic stretches, there's no talking. Everything from the moment that you get to practice, you're focusing, you're doing what you need to do. So I think what made me want to be a high performer in that area was that, okay, I had role models that were way better than me, and that I looked up to and I wanted to be good like that. So that's what made me work hard. And then I had peers my 7th grade year. I had some people that I ran with that made varsity and that went to state at a young age.
Yeah.
And so my 7th grade year, I believe there were 2 girls on our team that were in middle school that made varsity and made it to state. And I was like, okay, that encouraged me too. I was like, oh my God, like if they were able to do it, they've been running longer than me.
Yeah.
So my goal after my 7th grade year, I used to go to the gym with my dad every morning and I would do my workouts
God.
and I'd go with him. And then I told myself, I was like, 8th grade, I have to make varsity. Like I have to make varsity. I have to go to state. And so I worked out all summer. We didn't grow up with money.
Yeah.
I don't want to say my parents were poor. I don't want to use that term, but my parents didn't have the means to put me in AAU track like my friends did.
They were paying the bills and nothing else.
Yeah, 100%.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? We were loved. We had everything.
Totally.
We needed, like I had the best childhood. My family gave me the best childhood I could ever ask for. But so I was like, okay, if I can't do AAU, my dad's always at the gym. Like my dad still to this day is a very structured, disciplined person. So, he always wakes up every morning, goes to the gym. So I was like, okay, in the summer, I'll wake up at 5 and I'll go with him. I'll run on the treadmill. I'll do squats, I'll lift weights. I'll make sure, my body's in shape for when the season starts. So my 8th grade year, I did make varsity and I did go to state my 8th grade year.
Dang.
Yeah.
So you said a second ago, you're mama's girl through and through, but are you also a daddy's girl?
I feel like I'm both. I don't ever want to
it's allowed.
Like
it's allowed.
Yeah. I feel like I say I'm mama's girl for the simple fact that, like I've known my mom since she was 15. So I was like, that's my girl.
Yeah.
Like, how can I not? And yeah.
I'm 35. How old are you?
28.
28. Okay.
Think about it.
So, wow. 15 and you're 28. Did you ever watch that show, Gilmore Girls?
I know.
You remember the premise, yeah.
But I don't, I couldn't really say too much about it.
That's okay. I was just thinking like, man, what an interesting relationship. Those like core years with just you and your mom. And then your family just kind of multiplies. And then you have
that was hard. That was hard. That was hard. I think it was not hard in a bad way, but
that's work.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's where I was getting to I was 7. So I definitely think those years for me, I struggled a little bit of that transition. You have to think, my mom had me at 15. I grew up with my grandma, my grandpa, my great-grandma, my great-grandfather, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins.
Whoa.
My cousins on my mom's side, my cousins on my dad's side. My grandma was a teacher. So the elementary school I went to, my grandma on my dad's side, she was a couple classrooms down. I grew up with family. So going back to community, I'm also used to, at a young age, I had my family around me all the time. So every Thanksgiving, we had Thanksgiving. Every Christmas, the biggest Christmas ever. We all opened our gifts together. Every birthday, all my aunts and uncles, all my great-grandparents, my grandparents were there. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So when you go from living with your whole family, that's all you've ever known. And then my mom, when I was 5, it was just us. We lived together and I'm not going to lie, where we lived, I swear, it was kind of a little haunted. So, I always slept with my mom. So, of course, when you bring a man into the picture, okay, things start to change. It's like, okay, can't sleep in the same bed as my mom. I know this sounds so silly because I'm 28 talking about sleeping in the bed with my mom, but come on.
No,
I was 5.
So real. Yeah.
That's my girl. Come on, get up and get out this bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was just our dynamic. So that was that changed. When I turned 7, my parents got married and then we moved to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And so it was just different. Wow. It's hard. It's all is your mom. And my dad, I loved him. I loved him, but then it's like, okay, you have another parent now that, may discipline you or, that makes decisions. And then you get up and you move to Fort Leonard Wood is like, blah. That's not the funnest duty station in Missouri. It's just blah. So it's like you move somewhere that's blah. You don't really know anybody, and all you really know is like your mom, and then you meet new friends. I always met fun friends. We had crazy neighbors.
Man, so you must have stories.
Yeah, I was always able to give my mom some crazy people because I just always had some interesting like friends and family.
Yeah. Are you so something I say quite often, much to my boyfriend's dismay, is a stranger's just a friend I haven't made yet. Like, and it may be for a moment, it might be for years to come. We don't know.
Right.
But you kind of strike me like you have that mindset too. It's like you approach strangers and new opportunities and new places with open mind, open heart, but then just depends on how it goes, whether or not those people will be in your life. But you always seem to start from a place of openness.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I've always been like a curious person too. So I think that's where it comes from too, is that I've always been so curious about people. So it's easy to, when I meet people, like if I was to meet you and you're like, oh, you're from Baltimore, like you said, you're from Baltimore. I've never been to Baltimore. So I'm about to, I want to know, what is Baltimore like? Like how do they talk? What do you eat? Like I'm asking questions because it's like I've never been. So can you tell me? So I think I just comes from a place of curiosity too. Like you meet people and it's just everybody's so different.
Yeah. Baltimore also can be its own podcast.
I know. I'm on Baltimore TikTok sometimes. I'm like, huh.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen The Wire, maybe, or clips of the show The Wire. Yeah. There you go. But I will say, Maryland as a whole is interesting because depending on where you go, it's like Hicksville, and I say that lovingly, and the other part is like what you see on The Wire, and then sometimes the two worlds kind of mix. Yeah. Okay. I wouldn't have traded it for anything. I mean, for me, my mom worked for Baltimore County Public Library System forever, and then she found an opportunity at Scottsdale Civic Center Library. So we ended up moving to Arizona when I was 15, 16. So I started my sophomore year in Scottsdale High School. That was a interesting culture shock for sure. Yes. I didn't know what to do with them. They didn't know what to do with me. And it took me a long time to fall in love with Arizona, but I'm finally there. There.
And no shade to Scottsdale, but I can have a similar experience. So when my dad was in the military, I went to Fort Campbell High School, which is on a military base. My dad got out the military, I want to say after my sophomore year. And I transferred to a high school off post. We lived off at Exit 8 in Clarksville, Tennessee. And I went to Rossview High School. Rossview High School is even that school district. And I mean, not the school district, but those schools in general are quality schools. And then the kids that are zoned there. So a lot of doctors, a lot of general contractors, a lot of people who come from money and have maybe always came from money. Parents are veterinarians. And that was very different for me. Very cliquish. That was a hard experience because it was very cliquish. And maybe, when I say this, maybe even to at Fort Campbell, I was a part of a clique too, and I didn't recognize it.
Sure, that's fair.
Sometimes you can be a part of, I hung out with, mostly all my friends were athletes, but that's just because I was an athlete and those were just my friends. So there's people that probably looked at us like, that's their clique or whatever the case may be. But when you go to a new school, I definitely feel like it was very cliquish. And those people have known each other their whole lives, since they were at grade school.
Yeah.
And they weren't really, it was kind of like hard to kind of like find or I don't want to say fit in because I definitely kind of had friends going in there, like a couple, but it was just a lot more difficult to be able to like have a solid group.
Yeah.
Of multiple. I had a group, but it wasn't like how it was at work.
Yeah, I feel that. Do you think that high school and cliques ever end, or have you found that they?
I don't think they end. In my experience, I'm not going to say too much, but from my experience of living here and networking, I don't think they end.
Yeah,
I don't think they end.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think for some, it depends on the person. I feel like it depends on the person and who you are, and there's no shade to anybody. If you're selective, if you like to keep it, small and you like to stick to what that's cool. I think that can be limiting.
Yeah.
But I do think as adults, people still have definitely. I think as I've become an adult and been around adults, I don't think there's too much of a difference between some of the behaviors that people exemplify in high school and in adulthood. I know it sounds mean to say, but I just don't.
I don't think that's mean. I think you're just commenting on your experiences, and you don't need to apologize or say that's mean at all.
Yeah, I think.
I'm going to come back to that. I'm not going to lose that point. But what did you study in college?
I started off, okay, my college experience is also very eventful.
Yeah.
I started off at Loyola University in New Orleans. So it's a private school, it's a Catholic school. I started off there my freshman year, and I was on a partial track scholarship.
Okay.
And kind of how that happened is when I transferred to Rossview High School, which was my second high school, they had an amazing coaching staff. Their coaching staff all retired, and they got somebody new. And it was a gentleman who did not have experience coaching track and field whatsoever. So I stopped running. And even when I was at Fort Campbell, we had a change. I had a coach. Our coach, my first coach was great. He retired. Our second coach was supposed to come on board, Coach Johnson, and he passed away. That was so sad. The saddest thing ever. He passed away. And then I also had a great hurdle coach at the time, and he was in the military working with special forces. And then he got stationed somewhere else. So I had all these different coaches. And so by the time I got to Rossview, I was excited to kind of get a part of another coaching staff, and they retired. So I wasn't developing at the rate I needed to. And then when this guy got a hold of me, I just felt like, okay, maybe I should focus on something else. So I actually stopped running.
Wow.
And then my coach from Fort Campbell was calling me like, hey, there's some smaller schools, calling about you for track and field. Like there were some schools in Tennessee, not UAB, but Birmingham Southern at the time. I don't even think they're a university anymore. My best friend said they closed down. And that's actually where my older sister went to school.
Okay.
So that coach was calling about me, and I was like, okay, that's exciting, because I always wanted, to run in college, and I would have loved to have been able to go D1. But like I said, my coaching was so inconsistent. And I feel like coaching definitely matters.
Yeah.
And then also too, sometimes how young you start, and then your overall development in general.
Sure.
So I just didn't have the luxury of having, the best development through and through each year. But I was like, okay, there's an opportunity for me. And I should seek out that opportunity. So I was like, okay, I started running again, I believe, with that team. And it just wasn't
the vibe.
No. All shade. Yeah, I wasn't going to say no shade, all shade to him.
Yep. Fair.
So we weren't a thriving team. It was just a very disappointing experience, because I love track and field. Like that was my outlet. I genuinely went to school just so I could go to practice. And I did well in school. I took honors classes. Like I was in, high achieving classes, but I still only went to school so I could go to practice, because I loved that sport so much. So anyways, how I ended up at Loyola was, my dad's from New Orleans. So we had took the streetcar uptown, and when I saw Loyola and I saw Tulane, because Tulane University is right next to Loyola, and Loyola's right across from Audubon Park, and it's off of St. Charles Ave. Like it is a dream. It was a dream. And I was like, I have to go to school here. So I remember leaving. I think we had went on a vacation, went back home for whatever reason. And I actually found the coach's email, and I emailed him, and I told him my story. I gave him my times. I told him how I transferred, that my second school, the coaching, isn't going too well, but I still feel like, that I can, perform at whatever level he needs me to if he can provide me with proper coaching. And I just really wanted an opportunity to go there. So once I realized I had other opportunities elsewhere, I said, okay, hey, I want to live in this city though, and I want to go to this school.
Wow.
And so I'm not going to lie, I have ADHD. I've never been diagnosed, but I just know I do. So I didn't really score super high on my ACT. It's just something that it's a time test.
Yeah.
I didn't score that high. And of course, Loyola is, but I had great grades and a great GPA. So I emailed him. He emailed me back. I did a tour of Loyola, and then they offered me a partial track scholarship. And then I had to take certain classes just because certain parts of my ACT weren't that high.
How old are you while all this is happening? Approximately?
I was
21.
Oh, no. When I went, Loyola, when I had emailed him, I was 18. No, I was 17. 18.
Keep going.
Yeah, I was 18.
Keep going.
So, emailed him, and then I got a partial track scholarship. And so I went to Loyola my first year. That's where I met my best friend that's getting married.
Nice.
So I've known her for 10 years. Isn't that crazy?
Whoa.
So long. I got in
This.
disbelief. Yeah. So I get to see her get married. So I loved Loyola. I love the experience there. So that's probably a very diverse university.
Yeah.
There's people from all over the country that go. It was smaller.
Yeah.
Tuition was $40,000 a year though. So this is where it kind of got tricky. A partial track scholarship isn't covering the, so I had part of the GI Bill. And then I also was like, okay, in order for me to pay for all this school, I may have to join ROT, maybe go in the military.
Okay.
You know, I kind of got convinced, but I knew I never wanted to be in the military. It was just never something that like that just wasn't my interest. Unless I could be like in special forces or doing like some hardcore stuff. And that just wasn't a thing that women, you know, could do. So like I want to do badass things. And that just wasn't something.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyways, I did join ROTC and I was on ROTC for Tulane. The people my instructors loves me. They used to work me so hard. Like at PT in the morning, I would be I would be in the front of the pack with them running, you know, our miles each day. And it was a fun experience, but I just knew that I didn't want to be in the military. So I'm not going to go into something knowing that it's, you know, not something maybe I felt passionate about. So anyways, I did that. I stopped ROTC. And after my first year, I was like, okay, school's expensive, so I may have to find a different route. And then the sad thing is our head coach actually got fired probably like a couple months into.
Here we go again.
Yeah. So yeah, I missed that whole part. So this is really the reason why. I loved it. I loved my teammates, but our coach got fired. And then the assistant coach became the coach. And it was really just her. And so it was like, we didn't have the proper coaches. We just didn't get the proper experience that we deserved, you know, as going in as freshmen. And so I had left and they actually got a great coach after that, Coach Dobson, a phenomenal coach. He came on board. I didn't get to experience him, but I had actually transferred to MTSU after that. So Middle Tennessee State University.
Okay.
Only because I went to high school in Tennessee, so I still had the Hope Scholarship. So I was like, okay, I believe I could still get, you know, in-state tuition there. So I transferred there, did a couple semesters there. Something happened and I was like, okay, I don't think it's, you know, a safe place for me to be. So I moved back home. I was kind of going through it a little bit. And then I was like, okay. So I went to Loyola, transferred to MTSU. I did my sophomore year at MTSU and then part of my junior at MTSU. And then something happened that was unfortunate. And so my family, I flew back home. I was a little bit depressed, not going to lie, but I was like, okay, I only have so long to where I got to figure this out again. So I was like, okay, where can I, you know, go to school? So I was either going to go to ASU, but I'm like, tuition for me would have been through the roof. Yeah. So I was like, okay, this isn't a good option. Yeah. So I was like, okay, maybe I can go back to New Orleans, but I had already applied to UNO like a year before that and got in. So I was still able to get in. So I transferred. I got into UNO and I was at home. I moved home in October of my junior year. So right in the middle of the semester, I withdrew from all my classes at MTSU. And I moved home. I ain't gonna lie, I was depressed. Yeah. Okay. Depressed. But my dad definitely helped me. My mom, my family definitely loved on me and brought me back to life. So that was a blessing. So I moved home. I worked at Home Goods in Goodyear. I saved up like a few grand. And then my best friend from Jersey actually flew here and we packed up my little car and we drove all the way from Arizona back to New Orleans. So I went to UNO. And at UNO, this was, I want to say 2018. Yeah. Yep, it was 2018. I moved there. My counselor, I met with him. I was like, okay, hey, I know that I've transferred 3 times. So to your point, my first major, I was biochem pre-med. And then I was a nursing major. And then I changed to public relations. And then, so when I transferred to UNO, I was a public relations major. They didn't have PR for undergrad. Yeah. So which was so weird that they didn't have PR for undergrad. It was only for graduate students. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, what's the closest thing to PR? And they were like marketing. But the reason why I did PR was because I didn't want to do anything with math. I didn't want to do anything with math. I don't want to see anything with numbers. Right? And then I chose marketing. So I chose marketing. And then I sat down with my first counselor and I was like, hey, I need to be out. I know I may not be out of here in May of 2019, which was my graduating class. But I said, I have to be out of here in 2019. Yeah. And it was just something that I wanted to be out in the same year as my graduating class. And he was like, I don't think that's possible. And so I was like, okay. I said, I just don't want to continue this meeting. So I got up and I got a new counselor. And she was like, I do think you can do it. You just can't fail any classes. So I switched my whole degree to marketing. And then I started in January of 2018. And then I think I took like 5 classes. And then in the summer, I took 4. And then I took like 6 in the semester after that. And then I took classes the following year, and what is that? The spring took 5 classes. In the summer, I think I took classes, and then in the fall, I took I think 5 classes, and I graduated. So I went to school all year round. I said, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah. Do you?
And I did do math. I had stats 1, stats 2. I had, finance. Accounting was really accounting 1 kicks my butt.
Yeah.
But I think that was just because the way it's taught. No shade. That was one of my favorite professors. And the reason why she was because she was very structured and very strict. She ran type shit.
Do you understand or like know or think about how interesting and inspiring your story is? Like your personal story?
I mean, no, because I'm like, sometimes I'm like, we all go through things in life, and this was just my life. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't ever want to be like, oh my God, my life, I've done all these things. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to,
Sure.
you know what I'm saying? Because it's like the next person has probably, done.
But what about like, okay, let me ask you this. The way I hear you speak about your story and your path, you have this like wild strength in your self-awareness and your persistence and unwillingness to give up. It seems like you just like this door closed or you had to jump off the ship and like go this direction, and you're just constantly pivoting. And yeah, you had some pitfalls and your parents loved on you and recovered from that, but it just seems like you don't take no for an answer when you're clear on your goal. The fact that you stood up and said, I'm not continuing this meeting, like mad respect. It's just where does that come from? It's like, where on the hell did all that come from?
I feel like for me, and I think this is something I loved college, and I felt so inspired. Now, after college, it's been a little bit of struggle to kind of like, not pull it out of me because I'm still, at it. It's just that I definitely feel like my mom had me at 15. It was like, okay, my mom didn't do the traditional route either. My mom, didn't graduate high school. She later got her GED because, she was pregnant. So she, her experience was just vastly different than mine. My mom does have a degree, a bachelor's degree, an associate's degree, but she went later on in life.
Yeah.
And so to me, it was like, okay, like I just want, to make my parents proud. I don't want to cry, but yeah, it was just like, I'm like, okay, like I made it past 15 point, like I don't have kids. And so like, hey, I made it way past, the 15. No shit, no shit.
Literally.
But I'm like, Mom, you bullied me, to not be, teen pregnancy. And now you're probably like, dang, where are my grandkids? Like, hey. So it's like, I made it past that. And then it was like, okay, I want to be, I don't want to say the first, in my family, because I don't think, I was necessarily the first to get a degree. Like out of my cousins, yes.
Wow.
On my mom's side, yes. But it was just that was like my goal. Like, I'm like, okay, hey, I made it past 15. I don't have kids. Like, I want to make sure that I get this degree and like make my mom proud. Just so she can brag, so she can say, hey, yeah, I had a baby at 15, but that didn't make me less than. Like, look at my daughter. Like, I just wanted, make her proud. Yeah. Like, I just wanted her to be able to just, brag.
You think she's proud?
Yeah.
She's proud.
Yeah.
I imagine your dad's like mega proud too.
Yeah. So I'm sure they are, but they're just such hardworking people that I feel like, like it's like, okay, that's just another thing. Like, okay, like what's next? Not saying they aren't proud. I do think they're proud, but I feel like in our family, like everybody's just so hardworking that it's like, okay, on to the next.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just in your DNA.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Do you give yourself credit where credit is due?
Probably
not. Yeah. I hope you celebrate yourself a little bit more.
I mean, I take care of myself. I definitely spoil myself.
Good.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
How are we spoiling ourselves? Tell me more.
Facials, the girl stuff.
That's why your skin looks like glass. You're still in your 20s and you get facials.
Facials here and there. I try to keep up with skincare. I always get my nails done. I've been getting my nails done since like high school. I'm not gonna lie. Like I always made a priority. Sorry, that's always gonna be a bill of mine. So definitely taking care of myself. But
good.
Back to your point, I think that's what just drove me. Wanting to be able to like hand something over to my parents and be like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, you had me at 15. They worked hard and I graduated. So here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're working hard. at this company, this logo that's on your shirt.
Yes, OMEX, Office
Yeah,
Fitness
yeah.
Experts. Yes.
Tell me about the company. Tell me what you do. Give me the
Yeah.
spiel.
So right now, the director of business development and sales. So OMEX, we're a
Perfect.
family-owned business. My dad opened OMEX in 2017. So
Nice.
he actually worked for Olympus as their national operations manager. So that's how my parents actually ended up in Arizona. So I graduated high school 2015. They moved out here. And I actually moved with my aunt in 2015, and I worked in Illinois before I went to college. And my parents had moved out here because my dad was with Olympus.
Yeah.
And so once he parted ways with Olympus in 2017, he bought into a franchise, which was OMEX. So OMEX is a franchise. We've been in business for 8 years now. So he started off by himself, did everything by himself. I really can't tell his full story because I don't know. I was in college, and he was kind of doing his thing. So I moved home, like I said, in December of 2019, and in 2020, the pandemic hit. I was actually looking for a job in marketing. I would have enjoyed joining an agency. But the pay at the time when I was applying, I was actually very naive too. We could get on that topic later, but I was very naive about the workforce a little bit. And so I started off with my dad, after the pandemic hit. I actually started off as a day porter. So I started off as a day porter at the DES office off of 51st Ave. The reason how I started with OMEX actually, because I worked at Mimi's. I was trying to find a job in marketing, couldn't find a job. But I was like, I had to make my money.
Yeah.
I'm like, in 6 months, I'm not living with my parents. I'm getting my own place. I don't care what it is. So I started working at Mimi's. You can make fast cash, serving. And I will never forget this lady. I just want to say this. I will never forget this lady I was serving her table, and she was like, "Do you have a degree?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Well, why aren't you using it?" And she said something like crazy like that. I just thought that's just a
How'd it
completely
make you
different
feel?
topic. I feel like it was just one of those things it made me feel like, how can I put this into words? How naive people can be and just oblivious to certain circumstances. Like, everybody's path isn't going to be one way, and there's several people who have degrees that aren't using their degree in their degree field, or something may have happened in life and they have to, like you said, pivot. So I just thought it was very, I don't want to say inconsiderate. I don't even.
Do you feel like she was saying it in a judgmental way?
Yeah, more so. Yes. Yes. Not in like oh, well, why aren't, it was just more so, yes, in a
Like,
judgment.
what are you doing here serving tables?
Yes. It was something.
I've met those ladies.
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, this is crazy. And I wanted to be like, well, do you have a job? Like, I'm more than willing, to work wherever you work or, do it. Yeah. So anyway, so that was a side note. But so worked at Mimi's, pandemic hit, Mimi's closed down. So I didn't apply for unemployment because my thought process of unemployment was, I live with my family. I'm not in need. So I'm not going to use services I'm not in need of. But looking back on it, 800 a week doesn't sound, bad.
Yeah, it's like you clearly have a high quality character, but also there's a system.
Yeah.
And there's a benefit. So I get that. I think it's difficult sometimes to.
Yeah. So I didn't apply. And my dad was like, well, I have a part-time job, $13.50 an hour, day porter at 51st Ave. That's the best I got right now. And I was like, cool. Like, I don't care. I'm just saving up my money. I'm not really spending money. And so I started off at 51st Ave at the DES office, Department of Economic Security. They didn't know that my dad was my dad. It wasn't something, I'm not the type of person where I go around bragging like, oh, yeah, it's my boss or we have a family business. It's something I don't like to say. Kevin actually has made me more comfortable saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do notice a difference from the first time I found out versus now. You're definitely more comfy.
Yeah. Before, and we can get into that a little later. So I started with my dad at 51st Ave, and that was during the pandemic. So that office was seeing like over 600 clients a day because at that office, they provide resources to the community, such as phones as well as computers. So a lot of people went there to apply for unemployment.
Sure.
And they had to keep going each day to make sure they got their benefits. So people who didn't have, computers at home, that's how they went to go file for unemployment. That office was so overwhelmed because they only had a certain number of staff. So I actually was a day porter, but I was helping them. So there were just certain like ways that they were it was really hard to get a hold of unemployment. So, and some things with the application was confusing. So I was able to kind of navigate and help them. So I would help them with clients. And then I was able to kind of figure out the phone system and kind of like figure out how to get, through that door. And I was helping them. And then it got to a point where the manager at the time was like, hey, Takia, that's not necessarily your, my job, which it wasn't working with the state. That wasn't my job. But
Sure.
it was like, the only reason why I'm doing it is because, okay, I've done my part, disinfecting, and I clearly see that, these people here need extra assistance.
Yeah, you saw a problem, people that need help, and you went and solved it. How dare you?
Yeah, yeah. And I saw, even staff there, needed help. So, and some of them were cool, but of course, management had to say what they had to say, and that's cool. But then they were like, okay, hey, come, we need somebody, you should apply to work for us. So Goodwill actually had a contract with DES. So Goodwill has a contract. So the people who work in those welcome centers were contracted through Goodwill. So they were like, Goodwill was hiring at the time. Since you already know the job, apply. So I applied. I started working for them at the DES office, but I worked at the DES office off of South Central.
Okay.
And that environment was different. I won't get into that too much. So I stopped working with them, and then my dad had an office manager position. So I came back with my dad as an office manager. So that's where I learned all QuickBooks, all onboarding, offboarding, payroll. I learned how to do all payroll. So I sent out all our invoices. I learned our payroll system really quickly. Started doing interviews and things like that. So I did all our office management. And then after maybe like a year or so, I transitioned to the vice president of operations. So I oversaw all of our operations with ADOT, DES, the school districts that we were in. So that, I don't want to say that was my lead. Operations management is one of those jobs where, you're work. I don't have a problem working hard, but you're dealing with a lot of different personalities. You're managing a lot of different things. And it's a lot. Yeah. I commend any operations manager. So I did that for 2 years, something like that. I can't think of the timeline. And then recently at the beginning of this year, I transitioned into the director of business development and sales. So OMEX Office Maintenance Experts, we're a commercial cleaning company. My dad opened in 2017. He does have previous experience in the industry. So that's kind of how he got into it. And that's just kind of been my route through the company. So like I said, I started off as a day porter, disinfecting. So I know the ins and outs. Then I moved into office management and did, like I said, invoicing, onboarding, payroll, did all the HR. And then I moved into operations management and ran all our operations. And now I do development and sales.
Which you are just so well suited for, given your ability to connect with people. You're so easy to talk to and build a relationship with. So I feel like business development and sales in any industry, like you could sell me an umbrella every day in the sunshiny state of Arizona.
Yeah.
And I will happily give you my money.
Period. Give me the coin.
Yeah. We'll put that on your resume, right? Okay, cool. So that being said, I would be shocked if you told me that you weren't interested in someday perhaps owning your own business or doing some other stuff. What's the future look like for you?
I've always, I've never had, I will say, like a dream, job. I used to always say I wanted to be a pediatrician. Yes.
Left field, hi.
Yeah. My grandma was a nurse, and it was just something I used to always say growing up. I wanted to be a pediatrician.
Yeah.
So I do always think about like working with my family business. Of course, I enjoy it, and I wanted to keep, supporting my family. It's either you could either work for yourself or you could work for somebody else and make somebody else money. That's just how life is. You got two choices and you pick, and they're both hard work. And sometimes being a business owner is even more, hard work. Your life is literally on the line because, that's how you survive. So I definitely, do want to stay in our family business, but I would like to branch out. I don't know what that looks like for me. That's been something I don't want to say a struggle with, but I think it's just been something that I just don't know yet what that thing is. It's just more so exploring. I don't know what that thing is. And I don't want to limit myself either.
Right. Yeah. You said earlier, you're such a curious person, and there is no reason to limit yourself. Yeah. And you, like me, I see you all over, whether that's in person at similar events or I see you getting tagged on social media. Like you're out there in the community building relationships. And I feel like doors of all kinds are just going to continue to open. And we just get to walk through them and see where they lead.
Absolutely. So that's definitely something I'm still figuring out. I don't know what that looks like, but I definitely would like to have something on my own for sure.
That's awesome. Sure. I love that. What about some of the organizations, chambers, going back to the like community, tribes, who we surround ourselves, where are we networking? Are there any groups a part of that you have found to be maybe extra welcoming and that you really enjoy? Tell me about that.
I have to say the West Valley to me, so our office is in Tim.
Yeah.
We do reside in the West Valley. I do a lot of networking. In the beginning of this year, I started networking heavy in the East Valley.
Yeah.
Because Kevin is one of my business partners.
Kevin DeRosa. We love you.
Yes.
You're the best.
The best.
Actually, the best.
Absolutely. He actually called me this morning with a referral. Like, he's just such a great...
Advanced Champion Supply Company, family owned.
Yeah, I love him. I really do. He reminds me so much of my grandfather. And I hate to say that. And I hate to say that because I don't want to be like my grandfather. That's why I'm like, not trying to say... But like my grandfather's a business owner as well.
Yeah.
He owns a furniture store.
Personalities, work ethic. Okay, got it.
Yes. Just like he genuinely does. Like
he's also a grandpa. Kevin is actually a grandpa.
Okay,
so
yeah, it's like I
he's
don't
got
want to be like grandpa.
Kevin, we love you.
Yeah. He just reminds me so much of him, like just as a businessman and just who he is, his core. Like he's just such a great man.
And may I just call a spade a spade? I mean, I don't know how Kevin is. He's like young enough that I don't think he has a grandkid, but I know he has a grandkid, and he like. For
Does
two
he have grandkids,
he does. He at least has one.
Okay.
Yeah, I know this for sure. If I mess this up, I swear. No, I'm like 99.9% confident.
Okay.
But for two young women, entrepreneurs, business people to be sitting on a couch right now talking about him with such like love and appreciation.
Absolutely.
Because like the natural way in which he just builds connection and community, and it's authentic and it's real.
Yeah.
I think that's so special. And I don't know if I hope he knows.
I think he knows, but he's also one of those things. I think he's such a high achiever that he's just like, every time we're always like, Kevin knows, he's just like, it's just who he is to his core, that it's like, he probably knows.
That's what it is.
It's just like, it's just,
like there's no other option. Yes, it's who I am. It's part of my core. What trait do you think you have like that? Because I think people think I connect people and build community. I hope that's what people are thinking when I'm not around and saying about me when I'm not around. What do you hope people are saying about you when you're not in the room?
Oh, what do I hope?
Yeah.
I hope people feel like they could come to me if they need, something, or if they need somebody to talk to. Like,
Beautiful.
I hope people know that, okay, hey, I can rely on her to show up for me in what, ways that maybe they need to, I definitely hope that definitely people know, or when people meet me or become close with me, know that, okay, hey, if I need something, I can go to her, for whatever personal reason, or and I'm also somebody that I'm always trying to connect people, where I'm definitely somebody too, where it's like, okay, if I know that Kate, does this for business, and if I know somebody needs it, I'm definitely gonna be, I know somebody.
Yeah.
Let me contact this person.
Yeah.
So I hope, I'm still young and I'm still, navigating the world in my career. So I know I have a long way to go to get to, to Kevin's status. But I hope one day people just know that, they can rely on me.
Yeah. I mean, I would have no hesitation now that I realize you're out on the West Side to be like, oh yeah, I need a connection, or like I want to meet someone. You're the first person I'm going to call.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So going back to the West, you were saying about networking groups. So Kevin has connected me with a ton of people. I'm super thankful for him. So that's why I was heavy in the East Valley at the beginning of the year. And I'm still going to be, in the East Valley.
Yeah.
But one thing I have noticed about both valleys is, and no shades to the East Valley, I love the East Valley. The West Valley is a very more welcome.
Yeah.
It's a lot more welcoming. And maybe it could be because West Valley is fairly new. And it's fairly new. So a lot of new development, new businesses. Businesses. And I also think maybe the communities are a lot newer. Like a lot of people that live out there may not be from Arizona. They moved here from other places.
Yes.
So it's just the way that people operate together. It's easy to walk in a room and it's easy to work a room. It's easy to have conversations with people. It's easy to talk to people. It doesn't feel like it's like, okay, I'm trying to pull something out of you, or it doesn't feel like too cliquish. It's not cliquish to where it's like, okay, I walk in here and people are just kind of looking, giving snub looks. It's, everybody's very, friendly.
Yeah. Relationships haven't been established yet.
Absolutely. So we recently joined the West Valley Regional Chamber.
Yeah.
That's been one of my recent groups that we've joined. And they've just been they're so kind. Everybody's so welcoming, going to different events, connecting with people. just the community, definitely.
Yeah.
It's very welcoming.
That's awesome. I'm
Very
really glad to
welcoming.
hear that. I think that's important for people in all chambers, networking groups on both sides all sides rather, to hear is that, I'm also in the East Valley all the time. I've also found a lot of success making connections out in rural parts of town. I think it's so important to go outside of your comfort zone as people that are kind of new to the scene and wanting to build relationships. And I know we both have had lovely individuals like our Kevins that open doors for us. But at the end of the day, it's hard because we're all selling a version of the same thing. We're all doing the same kind of work, trying to make connections. You got to set yourself apart. But for those individuals that are established, just don't forget to just remember what it was like when you were new on the scene. How about that? That's what I want to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important, no matter what room you're in, you may be at a different, phase of your, career where you already know exactly what you're looking for. Maybe you don't want to speak, but like you said, I don't, I'm just not that type of person. So it's like, to me, it's like, no matter what room I'm in or no matter where I go in life or, I definitely want to make sure that I'm still being, friendly, that I'm still, connecting with people, that I'm still giving people the opportunity to speak. Even if I don't, even if I'm not going to use your service, like that's okay. It's great to meet you. It's nice to know you, to get to know you. And there could be potentially somebody that may need your services that I know. So I think just being more, just open-minded and I don't know.
Yeah. Lead with gratitude, perhaps. No expectations, not transactional. This might be odd to say. I'm 35, you're 28. There's plenty of individuals out there that are older than us that practice those things.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe I'm just reflecting on the fact, like, I'm grateful to know another young woman like you who is similar to my mindset of we work so hard and we're out in our community so much. Like, I can tell you're the hardest working person in the room, no matter where you are. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that Takia, if you're in the room, you are literally the hardest working person there.
That's to say, because I'm like, I feel like I can work so much harder.
But even just saying that, like, right?
Yeah.
And anyone that's watching this is going to be like, yeah, no, she's just.
Yeah.
But my point being is, I'm sitting kind of like soaking in your personality and your approach to life. And I'm just grateful to have another young woman in this space that has that mindset and is wanting to build and grow. And hopefully, too, we can pass some of this insight on to younger professionals coming up. That's a whole other conversation. But I know you're passionate about developing younger people through coaching, it sounds like. So maybe that'll be another follow-up podcast we talk about.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think too, with people that are younger than us, and I love all types of people. I love meeting, women that are older because they can definitely, provide us with quality advice. And I definitely think the same to, the younger generations to come, being able to kind of give them proper guidance or, tips and tricks to kind of make sure they get ahead. I have, a couple friends that are a little younger than me. And I always try to provide them with the best advice to make sure, like they don't make the same mistakes or to kind of put them ahead and put them in positions where they can be successful at a younger age as well. So yeah, that's definitely important. I think it's important to, be a leader and to be able to, help others, especially those that are younger than us.
I think remembering for everyone to just remember, doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, a 15-year-old, an 85-year-old, like you can learn something from everyone. And if for some reason you're at a networking event, a meeting, having a conversation with someone and you're in 30 seconds, like, I'm not going to get anything from this person. I'm not going to get money from this person. I see it happen with people and I watch their eyes drift. I'm like, you're not my people.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine.
Right.
But for those other individuals, maybe like take a moment and reflect on why you're having that reaction and why you're showing up to these spaces. Do you get that at Oliver?
It's worded in a different way. Like, what do you like?
Like in terms of, do you find you're talking to someone at events and sometimes you like notice a moment where they check out?
Disassociate?
Yeah.
Yes. I feel like when you go to networking events, I get the purpose is to connect with people, to build, potential leads, and to, grow your business.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it. But a lot of times, like if you're just going in with that sales mindset, where you're just trying to make a sale or find somewhere you can make a sale, it's just not authentic. And I feel like in order to, I don't want to say in order to, but, when you go in spaces, be authentic and, go into it where you're trying to build, like you said, quality, relationships. But I definitely do encounter people who zone out or just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And that has definitely happened at multiple events. And it does kind of rub you the wrong way because it's like, okay, like what's the point of really being here if, this is, how you are. But I just kind of take that stuff with a grain of salt and I'm just like, okay, on to the next one, For me, I just don't like when I have interactions with people that seem very dismissive or people that seem, I don't want to say that like you don't know what you're talking, but like almost give off a vibe. Like, I don't know. I just don't like the dismissive interactions where people seem very closed off.
Yeah, kind of aloof.
Yeah.
I feel that. And sometimes it's hard to tell, are they uncomfortable with networking or do they not care to be here and it's forced? So I always try to keep that in mind. Like I never know what's going on in someone's head.
Absolutely.
So that's always fun to find out. I find people fascinating. And going back to my early question of what you went to school for, part of that was because I was like, I don't know if it's marketing or psychology, but there's something in this woman.
When you say psychology, when I worked at the DS office, so many people said I should have went to school for psychology because at the DS office, I don't know what it was. I don't know what it is about me, but people would come in and I'm just really easy to talk to and I'm very curious. So like when networking is really easy because I'm going to I may have some questions about some questions about some questions. So it's like when people would come in, it's like people would literally express their whole life story or a tragic event that's going on in their life, like as if I'm like their therapist, which I don't have a problem with. But people at the office used to tell me quite often that I should go back to school for psychology.
I mean, I don't think you need to go to school for it. I think you were living it, like lived experiences. And I mean, I'll tell you exactly what it is that make people do that because I have the same thing. Yeah. It's a superpower that we have, right? But it's because you are curious, but you also are willing to listen to people's story with zero judgment.
Yeah.
I can tell that. You have your own lived experiences that I think have shaped the way that you're willing to hear other people's experiences. And so for someone who's like down on their luck or going through really difficult shit, pardon my French, for them to sit across someone like you who is a professional, who is very articulate, and they can immediately tell you're empathetic and you just want to be of service. I think that's it. You're non-judgmental and you clearly want to be of service to people. Absolutely. And that's probably why they are willing to word vomit on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't need to go get another degree. Yeah. But if you want to go do something with that superpower, you've got it. It's there.
Absolutely.
We're almost out of time, but I wanted to ask you about one other networking group because I saw recently, were you at an event for the Black Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, I actually went to that with one of my connections. So we partner with AFLAC.
Okay.
So with AFLAC, Tyler is our rep. And so she actually reached out to me and said, there's a Black Chamber event and you should come to that. So that was my first time. I haven't joined the Black Chamber of Commerce here in the Valley, but it was such a great event to go to for the simple fact that the amount of resources is just insane. Yeah. Like I don't know about all the cities in Arizona, like the city of Mesa. Clearly they have, quality services and things that they offer to their community as well, just like the city of Chandler does. But it was just great to see what the city of Chandler is offering as well as what ASU is offering to the community. And to also know that the Black community in Chandler is thriving and has been thriving for quite some time as far as like business owners, as far as, the demographic of Black professionals having degrees. So that was like very, exciting to see that community. And it was just exciting to be at that event for the simple fact that I'm biracial. My dad's Black, my mom's white. And ever since moving to Arizona from New Orleans, I would say that it's kind of like a culture shock to me in a sense, because I grew up with predominantly, in New Orleans, it is diverse in New Orleans, no lie, but it is predominantly Black and Caucasian. Sure. So of course, it's not hard to see a Black person when you walk out there. It's not hard to walk in a store and see, 20 of us. But moving to Arizona, depending on what areas you're in, it's not the same. It's much different. And actually, the demographic in Arizona is like 50% Caucasian, and then the other 50%, 49, something like that percentage is Hispanic and Latino. So that's the two main demographics. And I think we're like 7%. Black and African Americans only 7% here. So that's one thing I did enjoy because it's good to connect with that many individuals and to see what's going on in that community. But I have not joined that chamber.
Yeah, I was curious because I have been watching their stuff on social. And then I was at the State 48 Foundation Entrepreneur Series and they had a booth.
Oh, yes. Yes. Did you go through that series? Because I actually got connected with that series through somebody that went to the Black Chamber, and they were saying that if you tune in, you have an opportunity to apply for
a grant. Yes, I went to all four. Super stoked. But they had a booth there, the Black Chamber of Commerce, and I got to chatting with them. And I was like, man, you guys are killing it on social media, especially LinkedIn. And I think in Gilbert, there's, shoot, I'm going to butcher the name. I'll put it in the show notes. But the gentleman that moved the horse club to Gilbert.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trail ride, something
like that.
Okay.
But they're just like, I was so impressed with the stuff they're putting on social media. And I commented, I was like, every other chamber needs to take note because these guys have got it figured out. It's just like, I love all the chambers that I'm involved in. And I'm just so excited to see more groups getting spotlight. And it'd be cool. Yeah. But right now you're just in the West one.
Yeah. Cool. That's the only one that we've joined. But yeah, definitely with the Black Chamber. Also, too, their CEO. I mean, she was, I think, was at the White House at one point. Like she's pretty well known throughout the U.S.
Dr. Thelma. Yes. She spoke at the entrepreneur thing.
Yes.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
That I have to send you my notes from her talk. It was incredible.
Was it? Okay. See, and that was my first time ever meeting her, hearing about her, but it just seems like, with that chamber, there's a lot of young entrepreneurs, professionals that are definitely able to, showcase, who they are, what they stand for in the businesses. So that is one that I am going to definitely look into to see, is it a good fit for us, to potentially, join. There's so many networking groups to join. There's so many chambers. And of course, it does come with a price tag. So, as a small business owner, you just have to kind of navigate those spaces and see what's, a great fit for you and your company and kind of go from there. But I do like popping into events to meet new people, to see if it's something that, I want to continue or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. We'll keep you posted on fun events you go to. I'll do the same.
Absolutely.
I'm part of AJ, Mesa, Gilbert, APN. And a few other things. Arizona Association Economic Development. They're not networking, but they're an incredible group. Okay. And a few others. I love to pop into the Chandler stuff. I think they do the best when it comes to everything about politics and legislation, keeping business owners in the community dialed into policy changes. That's really great. But I don't do anything on the West Side. So now that I've got in-laws in Buckeye.
I know I'm heavy. I know, and you're not too far from me, but I'm heavy on the West Side. Yeah. I've actually, want to get more involved too, with community out there. Cause we're residents, in that area. So I actually went to go listen to the Secretary of State speak the other day with the West Valley Regional Chamber. So that was nice to hear, certain things. So definitely getting involved with, policies, politics and things out there. It's important because we live in these communities. So of course we want to make sure that our communities are thriving, that we have the resources that we need. And the people around us do. So those are definitely things I want to get involved in. But one thing I'll say business development and sales is that there's just so many areas to cover. There's so much. And when you're one person,
it's a big state.
When you're one person, it can be a lot to navigate. So it's like, I'm trying to make sure I can build, our presence, build, our name more out there. So that's my goal.
Yeah. Well, I'm super stoked to know you and I'm glad we got to chat today.
Yes. We kind of hopped around a little bit, but
that's literally all I do. I don't know what else to tell you. Okay. Call me Rabbit because I'm hip hopping.
That's cool with me. That's cool with me.
If people want to connect with you personally and or learn more about your company, where should they go?
Okay, so you can follow me on LinkedIn, Takia Collins. And then also, too, so we're a franchise, so you can follow us, OMEX Phoenix. They can connect with me on LinkedIn. they can connect with us. We have a website. We provide free quotes. But like I said, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Message me. I don't mind connecting via phone call, email, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. You're such a badass. And
thanks, Kate.
Yeah, you're like, that's sweet. I'm just so excited to get to know you. And I think you have such an incredible story. And I hope you continue to share it, because I think it inspires a lot of people from all walks of life. So
Absolutely.
keep telling your story. It's pretty lovely.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right.
Yay.
Part 2 coming soon, I'm sure.
Hey, oh, absolutely.